Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming this time of the morning. I know it's an early start and it's your first day at MIPTV, so we're very happy to see you. It's quite intimate, as you can see, so if anybody feels like moving down, please feel free to do that. Feel free to walk down and take a seat closer so that you can hear even better the words of wisdom from these.
There are prizes in the first few rows
yeah.
here. So.
Actually, there's money on some of the seats there. On some of the seats.
Oh,
thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, come down.
Come on down.
This session is rather cryptically called "We Love to MIP You," which basically means that we would like to, or these gentlemen here would like to, engage with you to help you, or to advise you how to use this event. This event is a business event. It's designed for you to help you to smooth the path to bigger and better business for you people. And it's a short period of time, and it's an investment for you. You've invested money to be here, and if you come away having realised that investment, then you'll be happy. If you go away not having done that, you won't feel so good about it. So part of what we're going to talk about today is the realising your investment in terms of the investment of being here. This event is organised by MIPTV in association with the Entertainment Masterclass, which we will talk about. We'll give you a bit of information about that a little later on. But the main purpose is to meet three huge names of this industry, guys who have been around in different guises in big companies, small companies, for many years, guys who really know how to work the rooms down here in Cannes. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, but I'll just give you their names. At the far end we have Tim Crescenti. In the middle there we have Michel Rodrigue, and here we have David Lyle. I'm sure you know them. We'd like to get to know you a little, and first of all, I'd like you, if you wouldn't mind, raising your hands just to tell us how many people here are first-timers at MIPTV? Oh, that's great. That's pretty good. First or second-timers? Maybe you've been here once before. How many are in distribution? Production?
Creators?
Fantastic. So now we know you, we'll get to know the panel.
Hello, I'm David Lyle, and I speak at conferences, but I will try and stop it. Let's see, I came from being a creator and producer in Australia. Then I lived in Britain, where I worked for what is now Fremantle, acquiring and then installing formats around the world. I then went to the United States for Fremantle and managed to install American Idol there in the early part of this decade, or last decade actually. And then I worked at Fox running a channel, and up till 2 weeks ago running a distribution arm. I guess I've created them, I've produced them, I've bought them, I've sold them in about 25 territories.
That's very impressive.
Oh, and I've been coming to MIP since 1994, I think.
You win the award.
Do I?
That's true.
Michel Rodrigue.
Yes, hi. Well, I'm a Canadian to start. And I've done most of my, a good part of my career in Canada as working with a broadcaster, going through all the different levels till VP programming, and then I started independent production, and in the late 80s started to do the international business. Actually, I've been coming to MIP since 1985. So
you win.
85. 26 years this year, my 26th MIP. And then in 96 I started the first ever format distribution company called Distraction. And in the last 2 years I've been consulting with some of my companions here and others as a format consultant, format expert. I currently have mandates in China, South Africa, and in Canada. And I work with a small group of consultants called the Format People.
Tim Crescenti.
Good morning. I am Tim Crescenti, and we have a company called Small World, and I started off a lot of very similarities, which is why we're such good friends, but started off in production back in the 80s working on a show called Wheel of Fortune, little known hit, back in the US, and then in the 90s formed our own production company. We did documentaries and specials around the world, and that's where I came to know and love that I could do what I love, which is television, but not be stuck in LA. And get to meet great people around the world and build relationships and get to come to 26 trips to Cannes for me, I guess. I think 97 was my first year coming here. And then worked for Sony doing international, worked for a gigolo named Paul Gilbert. And we started doing, taking the library of old Columbia TriStar shows and revamping them and built some relationships there. And went to, Sony moved me to London where I found a show called Dragon's Den. And we launched that around the world. And what's interesting about that show, that's an example, which we'll get into later, of finding a show in Japan, showing it to buyers, and they don't have the imagination to say, what in the world, how is this show going to work? But we launched it on BBC Two, and it turned out to be a big hit. Then went to Fox for a couple years, international, and then we started this company about, my wife and I, Colleen, started about 5 years ago, where we travel around the world and find shows, whether it's I survived a Japanese game show from Denmark, or some shows from Thailand and shows from Romania. So we look in uncovered places to find those gems where we're not traipsing over 17 other producers and agents in one office in London. But we like to have fun, as David, we were all talking about there. Fun is the most important part. And that's it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, gentlemen. So as so many of the audience, I'm really pleased about it, so many of the people here, it's their first MIPTV. So I'd like to hear brief anecdotes from your first MIPTV, negatives and positives, ideally, so that we can warn everybody. David.
The first thing that you need to do, and this is sort of like the 101, you've got to get a 20-minute clock in your head. If you have meetings here, they will be on the half hour. The first 5 minutes will be, hi, nice to see you, oh, where do you come from, and with time, how are your kids, and that sort of crap. Then you will have 20 minutes of doing the do. Buying, selling, pitching, finding out what they're about, and Tim will give you the most important part of that pitching advice later. Then you need at 25 past to get up, shake hands, and get to the next meeting. You should, if you've got a spare half hour, get the geography of this place down pat. The more hurried you are, the more likely you are to get lost. And turning up 15 minutes late is a cardinal sin. So if I could only say one thing, well, the first thing I'd say is don't come to too many things like this, get out and make meetings, but turn up to them on time.
Did you learn this the hard way? I mean, when you first came here, did anything go wrong? Did you miss?
I used to, I mean, these halls, the stairs sort of head towards the sea largely, and then you've got to come back here, and they're on sort of mezzanine levels. They're impossible to find, and yet the big studios, 20th, Warner's, are on this side. Knowing downstairs, back in the good old days when people used to smoke downstairs, geez. Knowing that the evens were on one side and the odds were on the other, and being able to find your way around. Because if you really only have 5 minutes to get about, it's tough. I now, with my assistant, make sure I've drawn her a very detailed map and say, it takes 5 minutes to get from this place to that place. But then if I go to the Majestic, that's going to take 10 minutes. And God forbid, if I go to the Carlton, that's 15 minutes. And so I try and do all my Sea View meetings back to back to back. And then if I'm downstairs on the, the 7th pit of hell, I try and do all those meetings back to back to back. Back in my day, I was working for 9, and the people from 7 were our fiercest enemies. So you had to in fact, make sure that you scheduled the people you really wanted to buy from early and get in there and close in the room. But those days are somewhat gone.
Tim, do you remember your first MIPTV, and what were the delights of it and what were the horrors?
I learned that those, try not to attend every single cocktail party that you're invited to, because when the morning the alarm goes off, you go, oh shit. So discretion on that. A timing to it. The geography is so, and as we're making appointments, I try to schedule appointments starting on Thursday, so fill up the Thursday, because the attitude here is, unless you're some big, these big studio people think they can fly in for a day and a half and they spend $20,000 on a first-class ticket, and they're here for a day and a half of meetings, they make their appearance and they're gone. So it's got to the point where people start leaving on Wednesday, so Thursday actually tends to be a great day to have meetings, because people are a little bit more relaxed. They're not as crazy and manic as the first few days. It's a little bit more flexibility. So I think the geography, but I remember the first market, and I was in such an excited mode to be coming here and meeting people from Lebanon and countries in like Bulgaria and Estonia and Latvia that I didn't know that they existed nor where they were. I was just in such a pitch mode that I was not, what I now preach is I was not listening. So talking to buyers that I thought might be buying formats. They weren't buying formats. They might have been just acquisitions of finished product. If I would have listened and asked questions about what they do, what are they looking for, I wouldn't have just spent 20 minutes not even taking a breath and pitching Dating Game and Newlywed Game and Pyramid and Gong Show, and when they don't even give a shit. Yeah. So the listening, and I always use the phrase that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So if you communicate in that ratio, the world would be in a lot better shape. But most people do. They just they're waiting to talk. Few people listen in life anyway. So if you're in a meeting, listen, ask questions, and take notes, because that helps you in the follow-up. It helps us in the follow-up. My God, we're in such a crazed mode that if I don't take notes and I'm on to the next meeting, I go, I don't even know what the heck we just talked about. You got to take notes. Yeah.
Research the people that you're pitching to. Make sure that you know who they are and what they want. You can't sell them something that they don't want to buy. You need to know what they're looking for in the first place. Michel, when you're the winner, aren't you? You're the veteran.
Am I the oldest?
What was it like?
The oldest, yeah.
If you can remember.
Actually, when I first came here, the Palais was brand new. The 1995 is when I believe we first entered the Palais, and nothing was working. Everything was wrong. There was no direction. You could get lost all the time. But I think over the years it changed. The Palais didn't change. It's still the same old weird or odd place to be. But there's better directions now, and there's better ways to do that, to find ourselves around. But even then, it was only 1 floor. It was only the 0 floor. That's it. It was much easier then. As David was saying, they discovered the years after that they should go do odds and evens down below. But I think the most important thing David and Tim have touched on the basics. I think one of the things, we all mentioned the meetings where we book, well, first things first, before you even get here, get your meetings down, book your meetings, because it's very hard to come here and knock on doors and try to get a meeting in last minute. Getting a meeting
it's
here,
not impossible. But
it's not impossible, but certainly the first 2 days.
Yeah. Thursday does loosen up. So if you're going to do that knock on doors, we'll come to the how to make informal meetings. So.
Yeah, but it's very important to look. MIP provide you all the information ahead of time. When you register ahead, you have access to the list of people who are here and who you want to meet, and you should contact them ahead of time to book your meetings. I think this is the first thing to do. And once you get here, of course you meet people at bars or different restaurants or stuff like that. But and you can make the contact. It's good networking and everything. The whole Cannes is a whole networking place. But you know, it's important when you book your take meetings there, not to lose your paper book.
So we're on the subject of, so there are formal meetings and there are informal meetings, and things do happen in bars. I think it's moved up the Croisette now. It used to be the Martinez, where people hung out till 3 in the morning and maybe did business and maybe forgot about it the next morning. Now it seems to have gravitated towards the Grand Hotel in the center of in the middle of the Croisette. Is there value in these casual meetings, hanging out in bars after the day's over, after dinner's over? You have to pace yourself, but can things happen?
Yes, certainly. And in fact, the wonderful thing about this market is everyone is here to do business, sort of. So you can front people that you don't know and introduce you. Well, first of all, have cards, have business cards, and have a lot of them, because, oh, I've run out of cards, is just sort of vaguely pathetic, really. So have lots of business cards, and be prepared.
And to make sure I have my cards.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and if you don't have cards, then just say, I don't believe in cards. To say you've run out is pathetic. But, yeah, or, you know, then electronically email them or something. But, so you can, but there's a protocol too. You confront someone, hi, how are you? They may be talking to someone else. They may be doing business that matters. So okay, you front them, hi, I know who you are, I'd like to talk to you, is it possible, this is my card, and then bugger off. Don't hang around like a bad smell. You can make meetings later in the week, you can email, you can follow up even after the market, and we'll talk about follow up after, because that's crucial. But in these casual meetings, be bold, everyone admires that, have a elevator pitch, as the Americans would call it. I'm here with a documentary that I'm trying to get funded, et cetera, I've got something, could I make a time to see you properly? And if the person is welcoming and they say, oh yeah, well now what's it about? Okay, you answer. But then be prepared to not hang around and become a pest.
Absolutely.
Has it happened to any of you? Has a concrete deal happened from a chance meeting in a bar? Do you remember it?
I don't remember having closing a deal in a bar.
Not that sort of deal.
No, I don't think it. You know, you can make a meeting and book a meeting in a bar. I think I would not go past that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't let people
have a contract come out of your pocket. But it's the start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you know, I wouldn't even let people pitch me in a bar. Certainly after I've had one drink. If you're taking a pitch when you're, you know, when you've had a couple of drinks, is to me, I'd rather not hear it.
I'm Australian.
You are.
Yeah, so
well,
everyone is expected to have at least 2 or 3 drinks before you start.
Start pitching.
That's also too in a cocktail party like last night for the Nordic World deal. The volume in the bar, in the lounge area, started raising, and then people are talking. It's getting louder, and you're catching maybe every 3rd or 4th word. So, yeah, you don't get in too far in depth at a cocktail party. Actually, the fitness center, I probably had one of the rare people who occasionally will get to the fitness center early in the morning. But met a person from Singapore a couple of years ago that we have a pretty good project that we spent it just by me being on the treadmill in the Precor for a couple mornings and chatting away. So you don't know, and again, it's just reading the person of just how much of a pest are you going to be. If they're interested, yeah, they'll say, okay, well, let's talk more about it. We'll take that cue to say, we'll talk more about it later.
And there's a formal process. You can go past people's booths here and you see what they've got and you say, oh, okay, I've got something similar to that, and they're distributing this sort of stuff. They could be useful. I didn't know before I saw them. each booth has someone standing at the front with a book. Is it possible to make an appointment? Again, you've got to be prepared. It's not going to be an appointment today, but you leave the cards. You do make formal appointments. And so, you know, I'd certainly do the majority of your work here rather than hanging out in the bars. It's just that the bars do work as well. And around here, Tim, I think you have an example from something much like this.
Yeah, we did a, David and Christophe and I, the three of us, was it just the three of us? Last year, and we did a how to MIP for just like this, and because I'm odd in many different ways, but as David will say, I'll talk to a wall. Hopefully, sometimes a wall talks to me, and that's what I know. I've gone too far. But doing the session last year at MIP, and some people came up at the end. From Romania, from Media Factory, who way back when I was doing a lot of shows in Romania, setting up the Dating Game and Gong Show, they were working as producers back then, but we really didn't connect then. So they came up afterwards, very kind. So I know you got a busy schedule, but we got a project we'd love to talk to you about. So ended up that I actually couldn't do it. My wife and Morgan were here, so they met him over at Cafe Roma. And had just a quick time, because there was only just a few minutes. They were very aware that we were squeezing them in. But that turned into a show that we're introducing at this market called Miss Country Girl. That's been on in Romania for 2 seasons. We've already sold it to a few countries. But because of that relationship, and they were very aware of what was going on, how busy we were, we amped it up. They did a great follow-up after MIP on emails. Not long emails, just reminders, hey, we met at MIP. Because I think that's the other thing, too, real quickly. You know, coming here 26 years, I've seen people that I've seen for 26 markets, I still sometimes draw a blank on their first name. So there's an assumption that you're memorable. It's like, no, you kind of, no matter what you do, just says, hi, this is Bogdan, we met on da-da-da. It's like, oh, just do that, because it's sometimes awkward when you're looking at people and you're trying to be discreet and look at their badge.
Especially if they've got cleavage.
Yes, and they're women too.
And if they, the project you're talking about, we have that here.
Yeah, we have a little trailer we can show you just exactly what happened in a year with this project. And because of them too is why I ended up on stage on Saturday at the pitch thing, wearing a Dracula cape, pitching their new show. So yeah, I'll do anything.
No, we'll try and have a look at that.
So we'll talk. You'll just show a minute of this. It's called Miss Country Girl.
From cowgirl to cover girl. From the cornfield to the catwalk. Miss Country Girl is the breakout makeover reality format that scours the countryside for the next national beauty. From remote villages to the capital city, these girls train and transform for the live grand finale. A TV success for Prima TV and now renewed for a 2nd and 3rd season, Miss Country Girl is already warming up the runways in Romania. 6 celebrities will divide and conquer, traveling to different remote villages to find the most naturally beautiful country girl. The girl will represent not only their region, but also that celebrity in the final competition. In only 2 days, the celebrity searches the village for the most beautiful country girl, knocking on every door, asking the locals, and organizing a casting session. Once nominated, the country girls get a visit from the celebrity, visiting her home and meeting her families to get a better idea of their personality and lifestyle. On the 2nd day, the celebrity will organize the local finals, bringing together the entire village. The final is filled with tests and questions based on local traditions. From milking cows to spinning wool, to modern challenges like walking the catwalk and dance competitions. The celeb will choose one lucky girl who will get a ticket to the capital city, where she will join 5 other local winners in a beauty training camp and a tough competition. In the 7th episode, they move to the city and will be cramped in a shared apartment, facing a highbrow beauty showdown. From makeovers to modelling shoots, they endure fierce competition while being away from home for the first time. They will be trained, tested and scored by the very celebrities who pick them. Each celeb gives the girls specific training and tests, ranging from urban real-life situations like going on the subway for the first time, or learning to navigate a metro map, dining etiquette, fitness training, fashion and modelling skills. They will become friends, enemies,
Ești pe afară, găsești păi, cum faci? Ce? Mă ameninți sau care e?
emotions are tense and the stakes run high. The celebrities will score the girls, which will only be revealed at the end of the first week. After the first week, the girl with the lowest score will pack up and leave the big city. At the end of the second week, the 2 girls with the lowest score will be on the chopping board. The viewers at home will get to vote for which girl they want to see go home and who should compete in the finale. The 9th and final episode is a live grand finale. The viewers at home will vote via SMS for the final winner. Who has made the greatest transformation and charmed the country as the best Miss Country Girl? And the winner is...
Flori!
Miss Country Girl is a surprising, fun and touching show. A fresh look at makeover shows, fit for the international runway. Miss Country Girl, finding true beauty in the most unlikely places.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. So that's something that came out of this very meeting last year.
I was personally offended by all the beautiful girls. It was grueling, grueling work.
Yeah,
but
I'm sure that was very tough. Now, you raised an interesting point about visibility and people knowing who you are. Now, I think it's safe to say that most people do know who you are, that you three. That's partly because of longevity, but it's partly because of getting your face out there. It's a very important thing to do here at MIPTV and in the wider industry generally. Peter Orton, the late, great, legendary Peter Orton, who founded HIT Entertainment, told me that HIT was a MIPTV created company. He came down here, goodness knows how many years ago. Nobody knew what HIT was. He had one show, and it was him and a colleague, no stand. But what they did was they had 2 or 3 posters produced. They strategically placed them, one on a lamppost on the Croisette and one somewhere else. And he said, by the end of the week, people were talking about HIT as though it was an established company. It was a very clever and very, I mean, the name helps, 3 letters and a recognizable name. But and we all know what came from that in the end, a massive company with huge, one of the biggest preschool properties ever, Bob the Builder. So do you have advice on visibility? Now, I know part of that is my job because I produce the daily magazine here, and a lot of people like to try and use that to get their faces and their names across, and that's part of the purpose of it. I'm certainly not asking you to queue outside my office after this because that would not work, but...
Well, no, because a lot of the daily magazine is in fact put together months in advance too. So, I mean, you fill up the daily part.
It's the majority is put together here.
Really?
Yes, yeah, about, probably 60%.
Oh, really?
65%, yeah.
Well, okay, well, it must be the MIP previews.
Yeah, they're all put together.
They're put together. And so,
off-site, yeah.
Again, you're going to pay a lot of money to be, I would suggest almost far too much money, but a lot of money to be here. Make the most of it. Prepare like nobody's business. Everybody you're going to meet is online. Their companies are online, their profiles about us, all of that. So if you've got meetings, prepare a lot for that. But by the same token, prepare your product, whatever it is, pack it up. There's no sort of, close enough is not good enough. That was beautifully put together reel. It's been edited, and I'm sure that's about the 5th version. You cut it down. So if you've got materials, they've got to be brilliant, because the days of putting a poster up on a lamppost are long gone. There's a media blitz here, so be prepared. There are these MIP previews. Try and get into those. Try and get your word out as widely as possible. And Michel, I know you're a huge believer in marketing dollars, or marketing in all its form, what you can do for free and what you pay.
Well, actually, we try to get as much as we can for free, but now most of the most of the news magazines are crowded, very crowded, because more and more companies send in their deals and their mergers information. But I think right now it's very interesting. It evolved a lot in 26 years. You have access to so much social networks now, so much information through the internet. You can access with Google or Wikipedia any shows that that are shown here. If you just put in the title in Google or Wikipedia, and you'll have a description of or companies that work. So this is very interesting to make contacts. I realized recently also in Facebook, people
every
in Facebook,
show. Yeah, I'd say that's definitely, if you've got a show, it should have a Facebook page.
I remember, Tim, a couple of years ago at the Rose d'Or Festival in Lucerne in Switzerland, you won 2 of the awards there for your I Survived a Japanese Game Show. And I distinctly remember this, and I thought, what incredible branding. I don't know if you did it on purpose or not, but from collecting these 2 awards, Tim then spent the next 2 hours walking the town, into bars, into restaurants, holding these things above his head. And I tell you, as far as recognition's concerned, anybody who was there will remember the guy's face from that moment on. Now, are these things that you people do intentionally, or is it that just the passion that you have for the job? Is this living branding that you're getting involved in?
I think it's always with you. You can't hide if you don't love what you do. So I certainly love what I do. I know these guys do. It's in us. It's part of our fiber and being. It kills you to take a few hours and say, I'm putting the BlackBerry away because I just don't want to. It's going to be off work, but your curiosity is right there, and you see something, you say, I can connect that with that. I carry those trophies around at home, so 3 months later, my kids and my wife are saying, Tim, enough, okay? Those are kind of painful in the bed. But they're fun. But yeah, you're constantly thinking. Last year at MIPCOM, we had introduced a show from Finland, Rescuing Santa. So we brought Santa Claus down here and from Finland, and he was walking the palais and everything else, and people, that was on their mind. We got it in the MIP Daily. So you're always thinking of ways to do things inexpensively, obviously, but you just, there's a line from a baseball player in America, Yogi Berra, and he had a great line called, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So whether it's when the first time you're meeting somebody, and David talked about this earlier, put a smile on your face. It just does a lot for the people you're meeting, chemically, the endorphins, all that stuff. But just from a marketing thing, you just want people to remember you some way, hopefully in a positive way.
You're a living brand. How did that happen?
Well, it doesn't just happen. You know, it's building. It builds up over the years, and I think it's by doing what we do now, by being present in by making deals and letting people know that you're making deals, and also it's really networking and building relationships with all level. You know, you can't just concentrate on doing business with this type of broadcasters. You don't just do business with a broadcaster. You don't just do business with a distributor, or even if you're a distributor, you could do business with other distributors. And so it's really, the networking has to be at all levels. You know, we spending having drinks with reporters and you know, so they know your business better.
And buying the drinks.
And buying the drinks in that case.
Very
Naturally.
And
everyone's a contact.
Everybody's a contact. And well, especially when you're here, you know, this is the mecca of the television business. There's people from 100 and odd countries that are coming here for the same goal, to do television, to find programs for television, or to sell programs for television. There's two ways. But around that, there's a whole world, there's a whole build-up, and you can't ignore anyone, because anyone will come to, the person that you ignored this year, next year might be the buyer you want to pitch to, or the broadcaster that wants to buy your program. So you can't ignore anyone.
And again, I'd underline Tim's thing, that everyone's a contact. Find out about them. Don't just pitch them. Because that person, once they do become the buyer, if you know something about them, you've then got a more personal, a more active relationship.
I think I had a meeting with, the reason Dragon's Den happened in 2002, I was pitching a meeting with Nippon Television. So my first meeting with Japan and Nippon Television, I did not do my research properly. So I'm in the meeting pitching Yoko all of our game shows. And it's like, Japan's been doing these shows for 20 years, you idiot. You know, this is nothing new. And I made 20 minutes into the meeting, I said to Yoko, well, do you guys produce your own formats there? Hello, I should have figured that one out beforehand too. And she says, yeah, we just launched this new show, we're calling it Dragon's Den. I go, you have tape of it? And so she showed it, and I just got so excited, ran across to Paul, said we got to get the show, but I could have got through that meeting with never asking that key question. Do you guys produce formats? So tell me about what you do. And
can we talk about the paper pitch? So is it a myth that you can walk around this town with a one-sheet treatment and wave it in front of people and get that show made?
Are there euros attached to it?
You don't, in my opinion, you don't just show a piece of paper or show even a tape. You have to pitch it. You know, I think the first thing you have to speak to the intelligence of the buyer in front of you,
and express your passion.
Yeah.
And also, you may have to slightly twist it or turn it when, you know, in your mind you've got this great idea, you've seen it as possibly a 1 hour, once a week show. The buyer is looking for a 90-minute show. Well, could it be that? Or the buyer's looking for a strip. Now, honestly, if you've got an hour show and you try and strip it, that probably is a bad thing. But you may need to sort of, as you're describing it, you want to use the specifics of what the buyer needs and then pitch it that way. You can leave pieces of paper. I recommend the send on after. You should have an electronic version of it with a little bit of graphics here, not an 8 megabyte file, but you know, a version, and not in total PDF, so that finding out that they're skewing all female, you can, before you send it on, stress the bits that have female appeal. So, but you need to have it ready to send on correctly afterwards. I think if you leave anything, it's like a postcard. You've got to remember, people's luggage doesn't want. I do every time when I go to pack, I have all the stuff that I got in the room, and half of it gets binned. Other parts I just sort of rip a cover off or something like that. I really don't want 45 pages of glossy, heavy glossy stuff. So there's a lot of rip and bin.
Well, you imagine not too long ago, not more than 10 years ago, we all had cassettes.
Yes, that's true.
And people would come in and bring a cassette, and we'd have to leave home with no more place for the clothes. You know, now it's DVDs. It's a bit it's easier, but now everything is online. So I mean, all you need to leave is your business card with a link.
Yeah, although I will. Very few people you meet here have the true power to green light. They go back somewhere where the people who hold the money have the ability to green light. So the DVD, it's funny you say that, because with Fox Look, we went to all sorts of extremes to have a really vibrant website where it was password protected, you could watch things, whole episodes. But the DVD still has a real resonance as an item. It sits on someone's desk and they kind of keep moving it around. And nowadays you can print always on the DVD itself as well as the cover if you want. And B, they have to often give it to their boss, and physically taking it across the hall to that woman or man who is the boss is really worthwhile. So online's good, but DVDs are in the end better.
Yeah, because invariably you end up, if you send that, for also too, following up later with an email, you have a trail of who you sent that to. So for your own protection and follow-up purposes, you have some sort of trail. But invariably, like David said, that person is going to have a meeting with their other evening format buyers or whatever, and they're going to get into a room and they're going to say, oh yeah, you can go online, we hit this link, and something doesn't happen, it doesn't pop up, it doesn't click. So if they have that DVD, they can, they stick it in the player. And I know everybody, most people, young people, watch things online, but there is still nothing more impressionable by putting a DVD in, putting on a big screen, and getting someone's full attention. Just like that promo, you've got their full attention. So hopefully somebody's going to take that DVD. They have to sell it up. So you've given them at least some sort of log line, the 30-second pitch, that they can express it to somebody else. And then they can put that promo in, get everybody's attention without a bunch of people sitting online and they're separately on their computers. But we've gotten to the point now with our trailers, when somebody wants a trailer, we send out the whole reel, because you get accidental viewing. Somebody might be looking, they say, oh, I'm Miss Country Girl, but on the reel we have another show. And they just stumble across it, and that's actually turned into sales too. So, and it's also more efficient sending out one reel than 20 different DVDs.
Can I just, sorry, to mention something there. There are two aspects. One is, if you're going to make sizzle reels, keep them short. Murder your babies. I know you've spent a lot of money shooting this footage. I know every frame is a Rembrandt. But for Christ's sake, people do get bored after 2 minutes. Now, with Tim's one, which was longer, that was about, about 3.5?
Yeah, about 4, yeah.
Yeah. If you notice, it had a break. There was the first part, which was the headline, and then the second part was the explanation, a beautifully made sizzle, so that you could, you could stop that if you were showing it with someone to discuss, this is what the show's about. If they then want to know what the mechanisms are, 6 episodes, the 7th episode, someone gets turned out, then 2 girls, and you've got to vote. All of that's there. But the guts of what the show appeals to was over in under a minute. It was probably about 50 seconds, which is the way to do it. The second thing I want to add, and it just came up, everyone with great new ideas that you've created while on the train or whatever, and I hope you've worked them and worked them and worked them so that they're not back-of-envelope ideas which can't be owned, that they properly are formats that you've structured. You've got things like who gets kicked off when, what they've got to do in the first episode, in the second episode, etc. You will be paranoid that if you expose this to people, it'll get stolen. There's always that risk, but quite honestly, that's what you've got to do. And Michel and Tim also, we're all in the format business and the format protection business. But at this stage, it is when it's most vulnerable, you have to expose it. The one caveat, I would say, is only expose it to buyers. When you're in the bar, don't start telling everyone your ideas, because that's when they're unprotectable, and that's when they're most vulnerable to be ripped off, I suppose. I'd say certainly someone else hears the idea, and even with the best intention in the world, when they sober up 2 days later, they've got the germ of an idea in their head, and they may, oddly enough, create exactly the show that you
may well think it was their
created.
own.
So you have to expose your ideas to people, and they should be formatted. They should be written down, because there's no copyright protection in an idea, but only expose them to potential buyers.
we're not quite coming to the end, but I don't want to cram questions in to the last 60 seconds. So is there anybody who would like to ask any questions to the panel at this stage? And we will continue talking for a short while after that. If anybody has some questions any questions to ask the panel.
Any way we can help you find people you need to find? I mean, more than happy to be practical answers if you've got practical questions.
Well, let's move on, because a new addition to MIPTV since your vintage days and MIPCOM have been the 2-day screenings that happen before the event starts. So for MIPCOM you have Junior, and for MIPTV you have MIPDoc, themed so that people can specialise in product, whether they're buyers or sellers. Have you experience of these, and are they valuable, would you say, and how would you use those?
Well, our first experience is certainly with MIP format, which is rather new. It started last year, so it's only 2 years. I've not been exposed to MIPDoc or Junior. I've not been in that business. It seems to be a different business, different buyers, different, well, not totally different, but the product is specialized.
I got involved with MIPDoc, and that one, there really are specialist sellers and buyers, and they make, you know, there's various bits, panels and so forth. And again, people get FaceTime. And there are people who make, you know, make appointments around that. So a business certainly gets done at MIPDoc. I've never done kids' TV. I just think I leave that to the pedophiles.
I didn't realize on Sunday night you can't get into the Carlton bar because it's a Sunday afternoon, because it's all MIPDoc, and they've got the Gestapo keeping people out. It's like, okay, we paid a lot of money to come here. There's got to be a way to work that in some way. But that was the first time, maybe it's my first time I had a meeting at the Carlton on the Sunday afternoon. But it was kind of odd.
Yeah, you can go out on the terrace,
Yeah.
but it's shocking. I think they should, you know, put it in the Majestic or something like that and be done with it, or put it in here.
Another
I mean,
hotel.
I don't see why they've got to clog up perfectly good hotels and stop me getting to the bar.
Maybe that's the intention. Maybe that's what I'm
No, but
Realise AA had a stand.
if we come back to this, the comparison with the different MIPTV seems to be a conference day as opposed to the others, which are screening and market business thing. And I think, you know, eventually MIP should become that, you know, screener. They should have screening rooms or something like that to do business, because it's hard to conduct business. It's just a conference now.
Yes.
Yeah, but we were actually thinking about doing, because it's hard from a format distributor. There's always that catch-22. You don't know what the answer is. Are you selling directly to broadcasters? We've had sessions at this Entertainment Masterclass. As a producer or distributor, are you just directly selling to the broadcasters, or is it the production companies that you need to do the option, the production deal, because they'll be better at massaging the format property to go right to all the broadcasters? There is no right answer. But we certainly did an evaluation, I think, last market of all the meetings that we had. We had just too many producers, production companies that were just meeting with us just to see what we had. And so this market, we made a very conscious effort to those production companies that we didn't think, well, one that we really hadn't done any business with in the past. In Israel, by the way, we love Israel, but I think they have the most producers per capita in the entire world. Israeli producers will start sending invites about 4 months before a market. It's very funny. But so we made a conscious effort this year to say, look, if you want to go to our website, take a look at the 3 new formats we have. There's nothing secretive about them. If you have interest in discussing and optioning and buying, actually licensing and putting the series on air, then let's do a meeting. And that really filtered out a lot of meetings. We were able to focus more on the A priority, the buyers. So that was just something we took us a few markets to figure that out.
Let's talk about your MIPTV starting today. What your strategy is, what your hopes are, how you'd like to leave this city with what, and having done what. David. I know you lost your piece of paper, so you may not have it all written down.
No, that's true. I've got it electronically, but I don't trust it. I've got some deals that I need to progress. One of the things that I find frustrating is that I don't think I'll close any deals here at MIP, and I find less and less that happens. When in the 90s, when you did race around, you used to, do you remember you used to have that formal handshake at the end of a meeting and a deal was done here now. You tend to start the process, but I find you close the deal in the buyer's den, in their office, in their territory.
Why is that? Is that because the senior people aren't here, or is it because
Because, and
more
it's the
conservative?
dirty secret their buyers don't like to tell you, which is they don't have the power. And so they can't do it here and now, with few exceptions. There are still some people who do, but I find that one of the frustrating progressions that has happened, that committees are back home a lot.
That's true, and I remember closing deals here, but mostly with producers that had, let's say, an open slot with a broadcaster or something like that. But it's not generally doesn't generally happen. Even then, when most of the broadcaster decision makers used to be here, there was less. You know, it was a smaller market, and we hardly got any decisions made here, and rather it was just later down the.
But when I first came here, I was just a sort of a junior shit kicker for Channel 9, but I had the power to run around and to buy stuff. And we used to run around like crazy people trying to buy things before 7 or 10 did, and close the deals in the room. But it's the world has changed.
Would that person have the same power that you had, the person who's in that job that you had now? And if not, why not?
Because there are tighter management schemes. Well, all the Australian broadcasters are technically bankrupt, in my view. They're leveraged to hell and back. And so they really need to virtually put their major acquisitions in front of the KKRs and the various people who really have the purse strings.
So is business becoming more conservative?
Business is certainly becoming more conservative, and there's more fiscal management. I mean, sadly, we maniacs are no longer in charge of the asylums.
Tim, how about your MIP this week?
It's not over yet.
Oh yeah, pace yourself. Don't get drunk, filthy drunk on the first night.
Yeah, that's one of your tips. David's tips. Sunday and Monday, make sure you don't get drunk. Wait till Tuesday or Wednesday. And yeah, I mean, certainly the MIP formats thing, we've been on the road for 4 weeks also. So back to what David said about when your luggage gets really heavy. I think we've already shipped 2 boxes home from our meetings in London and France and Norway. So certainly the takeaway is send it online or something, follow up later. But we have some new shows to introduce. I think we are still looking for some new product. You don't know what'll pop up. We have a couple meetings on the schedule that I know people are pitching as something that's could be a paper format. There's one that is a series that's on in Asia that we're going to try to figure out some partners. And I think the market is another reason why things just don't get closed here. There's just so much going on here. It's not just a simple buyers and producers market. There's a lot of all the new media, and some of the stations will send a team of people, and they're going to divvy up on who they're going to meet with. So then they all come back, and a lot of them meet in the evening or in the morning the next day, and they kind of recap what their meetings they had the day before. So it's this swarm of people that are coming out from stations. So they're going to have to go back and talk to somebody. But following up early on, we had a meeting last year with a pretty big production company from the UK. They were not going to send, and the UK had a tough couple years on greenlighting new shows with the economic crisis. But this big production company sent one person. It was their business affairs guy. And so the business affairs guy was doing the meetings, the pitch meetings. You can see how exciting that went because you talk about expressionless. They don't get it. They're just like in La La Land, but they've got a trip to France. They're supposed to meet with all these people. There's not a chance in hell that he's even going to even understand what the heck we're talking about. So it's almost like wasted time. So hopefully by Thursday, we're looking forward to Thursday when we do have some looser meetings, what I was saying earlier. But hopefully we come away, we get some traction on these sales, we get some publicity either in C21 or in the MIP Daily and keep the attention. It's kind of like, it's a continuing thing. We feel that you can have meetings. One of the reasons we've been on the road for 4 weeks is that we've already teed up some business that we're going to hopefully close here, but at least get nearer to the finish line. So it's just an ongoing process. This is just an accelerated 85 meetings we're going to have in 4.5 days, and if we get something closed, that'll be a miracle. But
Michel, how many meetings in 4.5 days?
I've got probably about 30 meetings, 25, 30 meetings, and which is cut back from I used to. We used to do 50, 60 meetings when I had a company that sold, that met clients. Now, I'm as a consultant, I represent my clients, which are all broadcasters at the time being, and I'm looking for stuff for them. You know, I'm looking for new formats, new ideas, new ways of doing business, and it's a bit more relaxed. But I still, if I can just give a plug, not a plug, just a recommendation to anyone attending the market. You have to focus a bit more on, just don't try to get everything, find everything, you know. I think it's very important to focus on goals, your goals. You set your goals, what you want to do, what you expect from this market, and work towards your goals, and don't get distracted too much, because otherwise you go on all sides, and you know, you risk to fall through.
Yeah.
Can I give some plugs now? Number one, if there's lots of new people new to MIP and creatives and producers, I would recommend going to FRAPA as the Format Recognition and Protection Association. We have been going for 10 years to represent the creatives and the intellectual property of formats. We've moved into the next gear, which is to be a commercial help to our members with all sorts of member online help with setting up the formats to be registered, having a price calculator to see what formats are worth in different territories, and even sample contracts so that you can generate a contract suitable for your format deals. That, I think, is certainly something I would recommend to new people in the industry. It's also a networking site and works very well like that. Above and beyond that, though, this session is sponsored by the Entertainment Masterclass, which we've all been involved in some way. This is a magnificent organization. It's a serious masterclass, which over a year does really have some of the best people talking at length about the issues that matter to get people from a certain level to the next tier. Michel, you might like to talk about how it works in a more specific way.
Well, as you go out here, you'll find this little pamphlet is being distributed, or maybe you got it on the way in. The masterclass is 4 years old now. It is. We're in the fourth iteration of the group. It's classes. There's 4 different classes, 4 modules, 5 days per module. It's a 20-day of fantastic education. All of us here are part of that, part of the training people, and there's even some much smarter, much more advanced, specialized people that are part of that training group, and it's, you know, it's a master's degree in television business.
It's like the MBA of entertainment business. It looks at scripted, it looks at comedy, it looks at game shows, and it looks at factual through to reality. And you get experts in all of these areas over, you know, a 5-day module. So it is like doing an MBA in entertainment. And these modules happen throughout the year and at different parts of the world. It's not cheap, but it's extremely cost efficient.
You also get to travel to Berlin, Toronto, Canada, and Cape Town in South Africa, and Cambridge, which is the academic end of it, if you want, in a setting that suits all the master's needs.
And it's great networking. It's great networking, and it's fun, which is a key word to remember through the week. Have fun. Entertainment Masterclass representatives are here all week. There's the website, and there's the leaflet that Michel has just shown you. I understand that's outside as you leave. It just remains for me, and on behalf of the panel, to thank you all for giving us your first hour of MIPTV 2011. I've certainly learnt a lot. I do hope that you have, and are able to follow up some of the advice and suggestions that this panel has given us. I'd like to thank the panel for a fantastic and quite quick hour, in my view. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and have a great MIPTV, everybody.
Thank you.